there, Beer to Whiskey crew. Welcome to this episode of Beer to Whiskey. I'm Russ Heaps, and in my ongoing pursuit to spread the gospel of good taste, today I find myself in Fort Lauderdale, Florida at the Khoffner Brewery USA. And we're going to find out a little bit about that USA thing here in a second. And I'm going to introduce our special guest today. But first, don't forget, click thumbs up for like. Watch for the round Beer to Whiskey icon. Click on that to subscribe, or click subscribe underneath us here. And with that out of the way, this is today's guest, Rauf Khoffner, and he is the owner and proprietor and chief cook and bottle washer here at Khoffner Brewery. And thanks for the invite, Rauf.
Thank you very much for being here. Thanks for having me. Well,
And I just want to mention, we are on the brewery floor here, so there's a little bit of background racket going on, and that's the reason for it. But this is quite an operation back here, and we kind of wanted to give you a feel for it. Rauf, tell me a little bit about. Obviously, we know where the name Khoffner came from. Tell us a little bit about the Brewery USA. What's that about?
absolutely. So, Khoffner Brewery we established about 15 years ago in Turkey, but all the story starts back in early 19s. In 1925, my grandfather was working as a brewmaster in Germany. By 1932, was a lot of stuff start going on in Germany. So World War II, my grandfather running away from Germany with all family and finding a spot in Turkey. The Turkish government offers him to manage a huge facility set it up by a Switzerland company called Bermonti Brothers. So my grandfather immediately getting on the head of that company and start managing it, formulating the recipes and start production. Later on, a couple years, they opened the second one in Greece, Athens, so he was managing that facility too. Then my dad was following his footprints all his life. I was growing up in huge brewery since my early 6-7 years old. I was how I was running around the huge tanks and big grain bags. When I turned 19, 20 years old, since I was traveling around the world with my dad, by that time, I decided that we need to go out to the market with our own brand, with our last name. As soon as we have a lot of family recipes, family stuff, so we need to bring it over and start doing that. So over 10 years, we've been the only one and the only first brewery in whole Turkey which has almost 65 million people with no competition at all. As a brew pub, as a first brew pub, as a first craft brewery in that beautiful country, we've been presenting our family school, old school, beautiful, great lagers and ales. And then later on I relocated to United States about 6 years ago. We decided to expand to United States. At the same time, we have Khoffner Brewery in Russia, St. Petersburg. At the same time, we're working on the Spanish Khoffner right now. In the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to open up one in Spain. So this is our very important project being here in the United States and show success to make other breweries around the world that we're going to open up in the next 10 years, I believe so, feel comfortable.
I know that your sort of tagline is "beer is in our blood," so obviously it is.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, it's a funny story how that slogan came out. But 7 years ago, unfortunately, Turkish government revoked our license because of some political stuff was going on in Turkey. By that time, it's getting better right now, things got, but that time was really hard time of Turkish history. And government started stepping away from all the alcohols and tobaccos and everything. They bring a lot of regulations, unbelievably bad things to the industry. They were screwing up all the guys that was producing alcohol. We've been the last guy was last company was surviving till the last moment. Then we realized it's gonna get harder for us during one of the last meetings in Ankara, which is the capital of Turkey, one of the ministers told us, guys, we don't want you to leave Turkey, because we told them, look, we're going to leave Turkey, go to United States and, be somewhere else. And they said, no, we need you to stay here, guys. All you have to do is just rethink your business model and start doing something halal and, do something like yogurts, something with milks. It's the same stainless equipment, so you're not...
It's the same thing, only different.
Yeah, I was so much angry, disappointed, and mad that moment. And the only thing I find to tell him is like, look, can you take out something that is in your blood? Take iron or calcium out of your blood. He didn't understand me. It was like, excuse me, what? I said, look, beer is in my blood. How I can forget about it or take it out or switch to something else? And that moment when I was sitting with my partner, and he was like, Ralph, that's a great slogan. Beer is in our blood. That's what we're gonna go with.
That's a great story. This is something totally different. This is the first time ever doing this. That our welcome beer is a yard of. If I can get it out of here without.
Lift it up a little bit more.
There we go. There we go.
Cheers.
Texas and Miss Lily. What are we drinking in here?
We're
Ralph?
drinking family recipe, the beer that we brew according family recipe, Pilsner. That's one of our flagship range, and I'll tell you why we choose that beer as a flagship range. Let me take a sip of that beautiful. Oh, amazing. Thirst quencher. So we have been spending a lot of time when we just came to United States and made couple big circles around, stopped by greatest places I ever seen in my life, in Portland, in Denver. There's so many things going on there, amazing things. I was like a true fan of everything that was going on there. It's just like a kid in a toy store. We've been, have at least like 10 stops a day, around a week in every single place, and so many amazing styles and beers. Then we decided to come to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, because my partner, Evan Kagan, is the local lawyer. We make a marketing research here, find out this area amazingly undervalued, and there is no breweries by the time 5 years ago was in the Fort Lauderdale. So when we came by to the city and say, hey, I want to open the brewery here, the guy was like, kind of like, what, a brewery? That's going to be the first one. We don't have any cases and examples, so you guys going to set up the first case. That was really, honorable for us to be a first.
Sure.
Now we call ourselves the oldest brewery in Fort Lauderdale. As far as we're just 5 years old, it sounds amazing to me. So we've been sitting and thinking about with the family, what we want to bring as a flagship range. As far as my heritage is all from Germany, and we have a lot of old school recipes, lager recipes. We decided to, step on the toes of big commercial companies as far as they step on the toes of craft beer industry, and they pretending to do some kind of a commercial beer that looks like a craft beer. They're buying a lot of craft brewers around the country to look crafty, but I don't like the way they're doing. So we decided to make drinkable, delicious, beautiful lagers, old school, the best possible, the way they've been tasted, the way they have been tasted 100 years ago.
Sure.
So that's why we decided, first of all, start with our water profiles. We are working on our waters really very serious. We're taking it unbelievably more serious than anybody else around us. So we checked the water that we have here. The water line was not really good water. It has a lot of algae, a lot of chlorine. Besides that, calcium and magnesium amount was jumping up and down, depends on the season. We decided to build up the custom water purification system. So in the end of the cycle, we have just a pure HO2 molecule. We're treating our water with 7-step filtration system, which is double charcoal filter, reverse osmosis system, water softener, micromembrane filter, UV filter, and other charcoal filters. So we have pure, clean best water possible. It's almost 700 pH, sometimes 702 pH. And then we're building up the water profile according the beer style where it was born. So if it was born in Germany, where exactly? In Munich?
Is that right?
Absolutely. Where exactly? In which place? So what was the water profile at that time that this beer style was very famous? The same thing we're doing with the stouts, the same thing we're doing with all the Belgian beers and everything we have. So every single beer that you have here out of 21 beer flight has its own water profile, its own character. The thing that makes the beer different, it's two main things. It's the water, first of all, and of course the yeast. Yeast is a character of the brewmaster. So the brewmaster decides what kind of yeast. Yeast is his best friends, his partners, his everything. So who are you going to go with to that long journey? Which guys you're going to choose? Thanks God we have a lot of choice right now around US, around the world. We have a lot of laboratories that are producing unbelievably pure, clean, great, amazing yeast with the different characters. Brewmaster can pick it up and go to the next level and mix some yeast cultures between each others, you know, kind of make a little marriage between those guys and make his own culture. So that's what we're doing here.
This is something too that we don't often see. There are 21 tasters in this. I don't know that we're going to get through them all, but we're going to give several of them a taste a little later. So how many different beers do you brew here?
Depends on the season. We usually have 20 to 30 beers.
And those are all on tap pretty much
absolutely.
At the same time.
So right now we have 27 beers on tap.
Wow.
8 of them is a flagship range. We're selling outside to all local bars and restaurants. We have such a great places that serves our beer, like Louis Boss's. We have Sushi Song chain that is almost 15 restaurants. We have Anthony coal-fired pizzas and a lot of other places coming up. So right now we have about 95 or 96 accounts.
Is that right?
That's absolutely clearly love our product and keep serving it every single day.
And roughly how many barrels a year are you putting out here?
We're brewing so far around 3,500 barrels, but we have way more capacity than that. So we decided to open much bigger capacity than we need in the beginning to fill that nice, sweet space to grow up.
Right.
So that's what we're doing right now. Actually, the way that we even opened the tap room was the funny story. When in the beginning we decided just to open the whole wholesale place here, and the first couple of months since we start open up and running, we find that there is a line of people staying outside of the brewery every single day, asking to taste some beers. So we've been giving it away just without any problem, and that line was start getting bigger and bigger. And one day, after like 3 or 4 months we've been up and running, my partner said, Rauf, even this is not the greatest location possible, we still have to have a tap room. So we gave another 5 or 6 months of labor. After that 5-6 months of hard labor, we opened up the tap room here. And that place started being a little tight for us even a year later after we start up and running. So we start looking for more spaces around here, and we find amazing, beautiful building of 25,000 square feet, and had one of the local businessmen who bought that building almost just for us. We have about a couple more food vendors in the new building. So in the next 3 to 4 months during this summer, we're going to move into that big spot. We're going to rent almost 20,000 square feet out of 25 possible. At the same time, it's going to be a nice restaurant area there, a pizza place, a couple more food vendors, full liquor bar, and a couple more cool surprises for people who wants to come check this place out. Because that place is going to be definitely one of a kind. The place name is Sistrang Market, as well as a New York market or Boston market. These guys are trying to create something like, you know, a destination, kind of a destination with a full support of City of Fort Lauderdale. Hopefully that place is going to be one of a kind. We moved all equipment to the new place. We're adding 20% more equipment, more bright tanks, because we just ordered our bottling line, the first bottling line in the United States that we're going to start using. And this line will give us 1,200 bottles an hour, so pretty much
Wow.
badass line. And,
I guess.
it's building up right now. It's going to be built up in the end of June, so we're looking for late August to set it up, start up and running for first test batches and everything.
Well, beer may be in your blood, but obviously cigars are as well, right? You have your own brand, correct?
Absolutely. Well, I started smoking cigars. My dad taught me how to do it when I was 21 years old. Now I'm 40, so a little bit know about cigars. I've been traveling around the world about the new things that I can find, and I find myself in very interesting places that's been rolling cigars, doing really amazing things with the cigars. So as soon as we came to United States, to Florida, and this state is known for, the best companies located here who are producing cigars for all over the world. We collaborated with a couple local companies. The first company that we collaborated with was Espinosa. It's a Cuban family raised in the United States. These guys has amazing production, big production in Nicaragua. They're growing cigar leaves out of first generation Cuban seed. So they make a couple beautiful blends for us. We choose one of them as our flagship blend. So now we have our online cigars at the brewery, Khoffner Brewery. This is Nicaraguan cigar with a Brazilian wrapper and Dominican binder, box pressed, very luxury, amazing cigar.
Is that the one that's square?
Absolutely.
Those are the ones that you gave me.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
a fraternity brother of mine and I last week smoked the 2 cigars that Rauf gave me, and they were wonderful, wonderful. If you are a cigar smoker, I don't do it as much as I used to, but I certainly enjoyed that one. What is your favorite style of beer? If you're just going to kick back and drink something, what is it that you go for in your taps?
I meet that question a lot of the times, and my answer never changes. Imagine you have 25 kids or 30 kids. Who's your favorite?
Right.
All of them is same precious to me, same important to me. But the first kit that we made is Pilsner. Has a little bit more love for me. As my dad was saying, God may rest him in peace, he was saying, Ralph, you know where people are getting messed up? Mostly on the simple things that they think it's simple. Not on the complicated ones, because you're getting prepared for the complicated things. So this beer is the simplest beer, I think, in the world that is harder to brew than any other beer style.
Right.
I'm
Yep.
not comparing that beers with the brewing of, with the making sours or any other, things that contributes a lot of labor and science. This guy looks simple, and that's why this is where the trick is. This is where the trap is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, they think it's simple. It's just Pilsner. It is not just Pilsner. It is Pilsner.
Right.
So you have to know how to make it.
So we're working on a Pilsner here. I'm working hard on it. Let's look at some of these other things. This is a mango cream ale.
Yeah. Some of the non-German styles, first of all the German styles that we make in here, all the German beers, they have German malts, German hops, German yeast, German water profile, and the German guy that brewing them. We have a lot of German people, German tourists, European tourists that have been in Germany, even local guys. But when they drink in that beer, they say, I feel just like I'm right now in Munich or Bavaria, one of the parts of the Bavaria, or I'm in a Bamberg in case of Rauf beer, smoked beer that we have. But with the American ales, with stouts and ales, we're making a kind of a different experiments. So as I said, for German beers, we bring them as is. We brew them according Reinheitsgebot, which is German purity law. There is nothing, no adjuncts, and nothing wrong. Everything 100% organic, right, and straight as possible. With ales, of course, we have some interesting thing because the local public, this is one of the contributions they're looking for. If it's a cream ale, we have a plain cream ale, which is one of the competition winners. That was the best cream ale in South Florida, called in 2015, I believe so, or 16. We're adding a bunch of fruits in some of that beers, local mangoes. We find some nice freshly frozen purees. We're adding some raspberries, playing with flavors.
The mango in this is really subtle. This is not it's not really an in-your-face kind of thing. This is a nice, smooth,
Thank you.
smooth ale. I like that. Let's see what this is. Mojito. Mojito cream ale?
Has an amount of mint and a key lime, just like mojito, right?
It is. It does taste like a mojito. And it takes a lot less time to draw one of these than it does to make a mojito.
You want to do mojito, it's easy to do. It's just fresh mint and real key lime. We have a lot of that ingredients here. Passion fruit, we have passion fruits here. Mango, we have a real mangoes here. There's so many things we can play with.
Right.
Basically, you dress it up the way you like.
There's a lot of citrus in this.
But local key lime has a really good
Yeah.
citrusy kick.
Basil and orange wheat? Does that sound
basil and
Basil.
oranges at the same beer. So here's the interesting story again. How we got into the tap of Louis Bossi's, which is an amazing local account. They have two Italian restaurants right now. That's Chef Bossi himself came over here with Louis, with Irvin Machado, who's the big wine and beer connoisseur. They came over here and they said, look, we love your beers, the way you do it. We're definitely going to put them on tap, not one or two. We're going to put 3 taps out of 12 available, which just honored me amazingly. And he said, at the same time, we need 4th beer. That's going to be our recipe. So, or basically your recipe, but with our touch.
Yeah, sure.
I said, okay, guys, you're Italians. What's famous about Italy? When we're talking about Italy, besides pizzas, all kind of pastas, spaghettis, macaronis, and amazing things.
And olives, which I don't see
Absolutely.
going in beer.
Another thing that's being used in a lot of, one of the ingredients that used in a lot of baking stuff is basil, right?
Yep.
Italian basil is amazing. And, of course, oranges. When we're talking about Italy, it's all about oranges, all about basils. So we said, okay, so let's do something with the local oranges, but Italian basil. So they bring in real Italian basil from Italy, as far as they bring in a lot of Italian ingredients to their restaurant. They just put a little bigger order for basil.
I'm getting orange at the front end, and the basil's kind of on the finish. Yeah, that's interesting.
So they have that beer full time on tap.
Okay, this is Habanero Mexican lager.
Yeah, based on Mexican lager recipe, we added a good amount of habanero pepper in that beer. It's mild spicy, it's not over. Still mild spicy.
That's like giving somebody one of those balls of wasabi and tell them it's like a gumdrop. Yeah, this is a big pepper.
Always telling people you should eat something before you're going to drink that beer. You have to make sure you eat something.
Well, we're going to put this one back. Hibiscus honey cream ale.
Same thing. Again, cream ale with a real hibiscus and a touch of honey. All local Floridian, beside hibiscus, of course.
Rauf is in the middle of overseeing the work on the new building, and there have been a few issues today, apparently. So He's been kind enough to break off from that for a while to talk to us.
That new building is taking most of our time. Even today, I woke up at 6:30 to be 7 o'clock at the building. So yeah, it's a lot of things going on right now.
What's your target date for getting in there?
Be a destination. That was
No, but I
my
mean-
only wish from the beginning.
Right, but when do you think you're going to be in there?
The target time, timeline.
It never works out that way,
I
but
want
what
to
are you
believe
shooting
it's
for?
this summer. I want to believe in the end of July sometime.
Okay. And just so you know, when you're drinking a yard of beer, and you get to a certain point, the air gets in and it kind of fires it up in your face. We call that bubbleosity. It's reached bubbleosity. So there's a new term for you in terms of drinking a yard of beer.
Absolutely. So here, this beer been staying here for at least 15 minutes, and you have that carbonation
Yep.
going on.
Yep.
This is what happened with the right level of carbonation hitting the beer. So all our beers are self-carbonated. Everything, include all IPAs and stout. We're never carbonating our beers. We use old German technique called Spuntieren, which means self-carbonation. All the yeast are carbonating the beer in a certain temperature, and the gas getting absorbed in low temperatures. This is what we're doing here.
Irish red lager.
That's the rethink version of red ale that was very famous. That's still very popular here in Florida. We decided that we need to change the yeast to the lager yeast, and of course the temperature steps on a mash and on the fermentation, and rethink that beautiful beer, that great style, the amazing ale as a lager. As soon as we made it, a lot of accounts fall in love with it. So that's one of our main flagship range right after the Pilsner.
Other than the Habanero, everything has been pretty settled and kind of laid back and
Absolutely.
smooth.
No cutting the corners. As a fermentation wise, that's why we have a lot of capacity here, a lot of tanks, not just capacity, but a lot of tanks. I got 4,000 liter tanks, which is 1,000 gallon each one, 8 of them in the middle. I got another 6 tanks that is 500 gallon each one. The reason we have so many tanks is we don't cut the corner on the fermentation and aging process. So every time that beer goes into the tank, it has 10 days to 2 weeks is first fermentational time, unlike ales that fermenting in the 3-4 days.
Right, sure.
And then after 10 days to 2 week timeline, we're taking most of the yeast out and let it age for another, depends on the style, but the freshest one is Pilsner that sits another month and a half, almost 42 days sitting in a tank. Some of the styles, like Oktoberfest, like Double Box, they sit up to 4.5 months to be the way they need it, the way we're looking for them.
Wow. That's really tying up some tank time.
Absolutely.
That is amazing.
I have a lot of distillation skills, and that's one of our future plans, to have a distillery next to the brewery. That's what we're going to do in the next 5 to 7 years.
I'm behind that 100%.
Absolutely.
I'm in your corner.
100%. Because people that's in the industry, they know that for sure, but people that is just drinkers, not too many of them unfortunately knows that the best whiskeys are born as a beers. Any whiskey maker you can talk to, he will tell you and prove you that to make a best whiskey possible, you have to have a best beer first of all, and that beer goes to the distillation process, and then you have that amazingly smooth, drop by drop distilled alcohol that you're aging in wood barrels.
Wow, this is something that begins with an R.
Rauchweizen.
Okay.
Rauchweizen style was born back in the days at Bamberg province in Germany. When we're talking about smoked beer, a lot of people pronounce it Rauch. It's Rauch. Rauch beer on German. It's as well as champagne. The only champagne you can get from Champagne region of France. Right. The same thing. Rauch beer you can get from Bamberg. This is, official trademark of Bamberg. Smoking those great German malts with a beechwood oak, the same way we smoke in bacon in the United States. They smoke those malts, so that malt absorbs a lot of smoke, and then we are brewing with that malt.
You're getting the malt directly from
Germany. Absolutely. 100%.
So, smoke is one of those flavors that when you put it in whiskey or you put it in beer, sometimes it just overpowers everything else about it. That's not the case here.
Everything needs to be scaled and calculated.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Okay, this is Marson Oktoberfest.
Yes. This is exactly the style that I just mentioned. This beer has been sitting at our tanks over almost 5 months. To call that beer Oktoberfest, that's the only way to go.
That's unbelievable. I mean, that really is unbelievable. All right, so this is English ale.
English brown ale.
English brown ale.
Has, I believe, London water profile. It has British yeast, British malts and hops.
Well, see, this is right up.
Whiskey Trigo, right?
Yeah.
So that beer was aged in a whiskey barrel. But before that, let me tell you what the Trigo is. So when people talk about collaboration with the cigar companies, it's already happened in the United States so many times. A collaboration between the beer and cigar companies. So a lot of beer companies, a lot of breweries right now pairing their existing beers with the existing cigars. We make a couple, steps ahead. 2 years ago, when Eric Espinosa, the owner of the Espinosa company, swing by here, he's my good friend, said, we're coming up with a new cigar called Laranja. Laranja is a Portuguese name for oranges. So that wrapper leaf that was grown in Nicaragua, the field was too close to citrus farms, so that the bees, when they, passing by and doing all their
right.
things, they was living those little, aroma. That aroma by tobacco aroma was observed, that little citrusy hint.
Sure.
So when they wrap their premium cigar to that beautiful binder, when you're smoking it, it's not infused cigar, but back in the end of the palate, you feel a little bit citrusy hint. And that is amazing cigar, let me tell you. So, okay, bring it to me. He gave me a couple of cigars, so I smoke them. And I said,
that's a good way to get some free cigars, too.
Absolutely.
Good for you.
That's the best way. I told him, give him a couple of boxes. That's at least what I need in Ralph now. So, anyway, he brought me cigars, smoked it here with my friends, shared, the opinion, who has what kind of flavors from that cigar. And then I built it up, the recipe for that cigar. So that's the first beer that was born for the cigar.
This one right here.
Absolutely. Based on a red Belgian wheat ale recipe, that beer has a hint of local Floridian citruses and the maple syrup from Rhode Island. That's what we infuse in that beer, and it's a secondary fermentation process. And then we took it to the next step. We moved a part of that beer into the whiskey barrel, and we aged them about 6 months. And that little tartness that you're feeling, that tartness coming from, of course, citruses that we added into the barrels even. And during the aging process, you have all that wood notes and everything. So this is really cool.
That's a nice beer, too. I'm really liking that. Do you know off the top of your head what the ABV of this is?
Almost 6%.
Is it?
5.8.
That's pretty light for
Absolutely.
a barrel aged, yeah. And this is the Imperial Stout.
Again, about our Imperial Stouts. So we just made another batch of another stout that is close by characteristics to Imperial Stout, just double the grain. We're going to taste it right now, actually. I'll bring the glasses. Bubble bath, chocolate stout, we call it. Bubble bath, because when we've been boiling that fermentable wort, my helper, he was looking at that and said, bro, this is a bubble bath. Because it was like bubbling a lot of proteins. because it was a lot of wheat malt. So there was no any sugar or any other junks or any lactose added into that stout. And it has 9.5% alcohol.
It doesn't drink like it. It does not drink like it's that much alcohol.
Let me bring this up.
So I'm getting something right out of the tank here, is what's going on. Rauf is, if nothing else, enthusiastic about what he's doing here, and it's a lot of fun. And full disclaimer, we actually shot an episode here about a month ago, and when I got into the editing suite with it, we had some audio difficulties with it, and decided it would be better to reshoot it. The only shortcoming is my buddy Bongo isn't here with us this time.
Please take a look at the magic
Holy
happens
cow.
right now in this glass.
This is
Bubble bath.
incredible. I'm going to hold it up in
Stout.
front of your face here because that's a little closer shot of it, but wow.
And this is not a nitro beer either, but it looks like
It does look like nitro.
Absolutely. It's
Look
just
at that.
well carbonated, self-carbonated.
And what is this?
This is a chocolate stout.
Oh my gosh. Well, we're just going to let that percolate a little bit. You can keep your eye on that. Well, I didn't think I was going to get through all these, but now I'm beginning to believe that I can. And oh, this is Vienna Lager. This is the last time we did this. This is what we had in the yards. In the yards was the Vienna.
Beer has been sitting 3 months in my tank to catch the real right way of aging, and then we take it out.
I like that. I'm going to keep that out because I don't want that to get away from me. I'm going to finish that one. All right, let's give this chocolate stout a little go, although it's not quite.
You can put a point on the top of that head, and it's not going to be seen.
I know this is it so resembles a nitro in the way it looks. You could do a little shamrock in the top and the whole thing with it.
For harder things. When we're hearing somebody saying nitro beer is nitro beer, so look, we're going to do the beer with a CO2 that's going to look like a nitro beer and taste like a nitro beer, but it's going to be a legit 100%
Wow.
CO2 carbonated beer, self-carbonated stout.
I think I'm going to get a cigar here. I'm not sure.
I'm looking for the right cigar. Give me 1 second.
Yep.
Safety. Also, can you please?
Okay, this is the New England IPA.
It is easy for us to make an IPAs because IPAs doesn't contribute that tiny style as Pilsner when you should make a headshot. This is more like hunting the hog, with a big rifle.
Yep.
And you shoot a wide range.
Do you know off the top of your head what the IBU is
Yes,
of this?
it is 89 IBU and 6% alcohol. Dry hop, well, first of all,
This is what he gave me before, and this is a great cigar.
this is a Khoffner stick.
Yep. So my question is, we're going to get off beer here for a second. Thank you. This is a great cigar. What is the process for making this kind of cube-shaped, kind of squarish?
That's the press. They put the fresh cigars after they roll them out, and they looks like a ready-to-go final product. They put them in a special presses and leave them from several hours till 1 day. Depends on the cigar, depends on the tobacco that have been used until they're going to get shape. So that's the.
That is just, it's very unique. I love this thing. And I can tell you from experience that the ash on it can get like this and stay on it. It's amazing. It is an amazing cigar.
This IPA has Cascade and Citra hops, It was dry hopped again with the citra hops. We can call it classic New England IPA. Very popular.
So I'm gonna take a sip of the whiskey that's supposed to go with this cigar, and we'll see how that goes, or the beer that's supposed to go with the cigar. I feel like I should be on the cover of Cigar Aficionado. That does go well together. All right, so now we're up to, it's a wheat ale.
Olivia's wheat.
Okay,
right?
Olivia's,
Olivia's,
yep.
Olivia.
That's your daughter, correct?
That's my daughter.
All right.
And my best friend's daughter's name also Olivia. So my best friend's taking care of distribution part of the business. So our both girls' names Olivia, and he's right here sitting next to me, my best friend.
He's in the peanut gallery over here on the side.
He manages Kular Distribution that has the exclusive rights to sell all those beers all over United States.
So I don't know if do I get a T-shirt or a or a cigar because I made it through the whole
Both of
thing.
them.
Anyway, again, it's been fun. Thanks for the invite.
Prost and cheers and şerefe on
And-
Turkish
And
and
Texas
Sastarovye.
and Texas and Miss Lily.
Absolutely. If you guys ever going to be here somewhere in the area, South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, please stop by.
And
It'll make you happy.
And I can only imagine what the new joint is going to look like. So